Well, there's something out there, and former U.S. Marine Michael Herrera has seen it. In 2009, while stationed in Indonesia, Herrera's battalion was assisting with humanitarian operations, providing security for supply drops to the locals. Once there, he saw a rotating object changing colors and emitting a humming sound. After failing to reach his battalion leader, he moved in to investigate and began filming with a small camera. But moments later, Herrera says he was ambushed by men in black as the craft shot towards the ocean at lightning speed without making a sound. Once back at camp, he checked his camera only to find the battery and memory card were gone. So what happened next? Here to tell us is former U.S. Marine and whistleblower Michael Herrera and UFO researcher Dr. Stephen Greer. Great to see you both. Thank you so much. So, Michael, tell us what happened after you saw the video and you thought it was, the flying object, and then it got deleted, no longer to be seen?
Yeah, so when we got back to, it was in Subic Bay in the Philippines, and that's when we were on Liberty. So we ended up having the first night, it came back to on ship, and my camera was on my rack. So the memory card and the battery were taken out of that.
Did you see it taken out by someone?
No, I did not. No, I had it secured in my locker, of course. Okay, and another battery that I had for a backup, so I popped that one in. Nothing happened with that camera. So subsequently, after we got back to Camp Hansen, there was an Air Force Lieutenant Colonel that met up with us and some of the guys that were with me and basically made us forcefully sign a non-disclosure agreement and a TSSI document that stated that we couldn't talk about what we saw. We were threatened with treason, with a capital crime, including death or imprisonment. So that's what happened after.
Okay, that's very serious. Dr. Greer, how did you learn about Michael's story and what he experienced?
Well, he approached me some years ago, and of course, when he told me the story, we knew it was a man-made UFO, or UAP, probably from the Lockheed Skunk Works. And the big story that no one wants to talk about is that 80% of the sightings of these objects are man-made, and they've been used in human trafficking. What he saw were crates with HVAC systems on it being loaded on to this 300-foot diameter octagonal UFO, but it was not alien, it was ours.
Okay.
And so the ones that are man-made are the dominant phenomenon being seen. There are extraterrestrial ones, or NHI, non-human intelligence, but that's probably a minority now. And this is the big story, is that the technologies behind those systems have been developed by some would call deep state, but illegal and unconstitutional programs. So tomorrow we're doing a National Press Club event at 3 p.m. where we're going to have multiple whistleblowers like Mr. Herrera to sort of unpack that and expose what's really going on. And of course, the president has ordered a release of many files. But the question is, has he gotten enough information about this? My archive has some 20 terabytes of data. I have 760 whistleblowers like Mr. Herrera.
So, Mr. Herrera, Michael, last year you issued a warning to other whistleblowers. You briefed the Senate Intelligence Committee. You've also briefed the Pentagon. Do you still have warnings for other whistleblowers who may come forward, or have you seen more cooperation now that the president has said we want more transparency around UAPs and other things that have been not explained that people are clearly seeing and recording on their own devices?
Well, that's an excellent question, Katie. I'm still always cautious to let people to understand that there is a big risk when coming forward to an extent. Now, when we have legislation that was passed through the National Defense Authorization Act that allows certain precautions to be taken for people's careers, but when it comes to personal safety, it's a lot different. So working towards people's personal safety is the biggest concern as long as they're protected. A lot of these people also have families. They have a career that rewards them and pays them enough to take care of their families. So when they give up that line of work, they no longer have that stability. So they're coming into the public world, if you want to call it that, with no stability. So again, they're losing their career, they're losing their clearances, they're losing everything, and including their pensions and their benefits.
And also, they're often threatened with what are called wet works or targeted killings. So
who is threatening them? Who is doing the threatening?
We know who they are. I don't want to name names right now.
Are they from the government? Or are they
They're
private?
mostly private corporate contractors that have been ordered to snuff out people. And this is absolutely true. Now, law enforcement has been given this information over the last 3 or 4 years by us, and we're hoping that Kash Patel and the Department of Justice will run that to ground, because they're doing extrajudicial killings, but the entire programs are being run off budget and treasonous. So Remember, I briefed the first CI director for Bill Clinton, and they knew nothing about this, even though we had the evidence for it.
So, Michael, are you concerned about your safety?
I've got things in position just in case things do happen. I am working actively with federal law enforcement. In certain instances, I'm not going to go into, but again, people's safety and people's security is very important. So if the government's going to take serious of this nature, at least what we're dealing with reprisals, if they're able to tackle that problem significantly, you're going to start seeing a lot of people want to come forward with information that is going to be correct and is going to pave a way for the government to actually have knowledge into certain programs that have existed illegally and unconstitutionally.
So just to be clear, where this is coming from, are private companies who are doing these types of programs, or is this the government doing
both.
this?
So let me explain the
Because why would the federal government be helping if these are programs that the federal government is running with these private companies?
Well, it probably isn't politically correct to say this. There are two governments. There's the government of we the people, the president, the Congress, and there's a shadow covert program government. Yeah. And so this entity is sort of a hybrid of the two. And I discovered that in the early 90s. It's now been proven that that's the case, and I think the administration and law enforcement know that. Yeah. So they're having sort of an awakening on this in the last few years since the president came in.
Okay.
But this process, I remember I started this process in 1993.
Right.
When I was a young medical doctor.
Yeah, many years doing it. But you're having a big summit tomorrow. You will be there, other whistleblowers. We will watch for that, watch for news. Michael Herrera and Dr. Stephen Greer, thank you for joining us. Great to see you. Looking forward to seeing that too.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.